Hey guys, welcome back to Kiwi Classics and Customs. We got a bit of an oddball in here today. That you're looking at is a 1969 Rambler 440 station wagon. So yeah, not one I've seen before. Don't know about you guys, but yeah, it's a little bit of a hot rod. So let's do a little tour. Okay, well, you don't want to see that way. We want to see that way. All right. Now, yeah, as you can see, it's got some aftermarket wheels on it. Pretty solid little car. Obviously had a repaint in its day, or two, hard to say. It's got the factory roof racks on it, which is kind of a nice touch. Got some stickers on it. But yeah, they kind of they look a bit like Mustang wheels actually, but yeah, I'm not sure what the bolt pattern is compared to Ford. But yeah, no mistaking, it's a wagon. Can't really see in there through the glare, but yeah, a little bit of a peek in there. It's a pretty clean little car. Pretty clean little car. And a little look in there will kind of let you know that there's a little bit of something going on. We've got a stick shift down there, floor change, which I don't think that would have come out with. It's got a tack on the column. So let's have a look what lurks below and get into this thing. Hang on guys, we're going to have to pop you on the fender here. So it's just me today. No cameraman, just me. Alright, let's have a look. Alright, now, here we go. Now, the astute among you will realise that this is not the factory 290 that they came with. It is in fact a Mopar, a 318. Year unknown. But it's a 318, it's got a 4-barrel on it, and you most of you Mopar guys will recognise the ignition pack. Yeah, but it's in today because it has a lack of front brakes, and I've had a little peek and got some parts ordered, which they were hard to find. Getting the right brakes for this was a trick. It took us 2 goes. Because for whatever reason, and again, you don't know the history with these older cars, we got a set of disc brakes was a factory option, and they are factory disc brakes. So we got a set of calipers and pads. They were wrong. Turns out this has the police option front brakes on it. Now, chances are when someone bought this wagon, they didn't order it with police brakes, but hey, it's got them now. So somewhere, you know, in the last 50 years, someone's upgraded it quite nicely. So I'm going to get this up on the rack, we'll get the wheels off, we'll get underway with these calipers, and we'll have a little look at what's happening underneath. Back in a minute. Okay, up in the air. Well, the first thing that jumps out at you is the traction bars, ladder bars, anti-hop bars, numerous names. But what we're really looking at is a pretty darn solid car. It's rust is at a minimum. It's had some little panel repairs around the back wheel arches, but honestly pretty minimal. It's okay. Looks like someone's added some, repaired the lower quarter there. Sorry, I'm looking at it through my eyes and not through the camera viewer. Yeah, I'm better on cars than I am on camera, so bear with me, guys. Yeah, up in here. Yeah, it's not quite as original as it was in '69, but hey, none of us are we? What the key ingredient here is, for me anyway, it looks like it's a Rambler rear axle, I would guess. Everything's pretty intact. These floor pans are in great shape. So you've got a big piece of the puzzle solved. You can start, if you want a hot rod, whatever it is you want a hot rod, at least start with something reasonably solid, which is what you got here. You've got a little bit of rust just up here, which is, well, it's not quite a subframe connector, but it does go, it really is a subframe connector actually, because it comes right up here beside the main torque box and extends up to the front. So it's kind of has subframe connectors from the factory. We just got a little bit of rust there, but it's, you know, it doesn't on this side. It's just that one side for whatever reason. Here's our crusty looking spindle. Calipers are missing because we had to get them off to solve the mystery of just what they were. So that was an exciting drive in here into the workshop with zero brakes. But unusual suspension these things had. It's, when you look up here, that's not terribly typical. It doesn't look like too many other, you know, it's not like a copy of a Mopar or just like a Chevy or anything like that. That's uniquely Rambler with that tapered looking affair on top of the upper arm that holds the coil spring. It's like a strut that's not a strut. We got our 318 Mopar under here. You can see the fabrication, which is all pretty decent. They've you know, made a pretty good effort at doing that, getting that in there. It's got a bit of a leak from the power steering. Yeah, these old girls leak. Yeah, that's part of the deal. Yeah, this is pretty. So it's got a lower arm and a stay bar, I guess you could call it here, which is kind of the reverse of the Ford. The Mustang, you know, and a lot of the Fords that went up towards the front, this has it running to the back and picking up on the chassis at the back. So there's arguments for and against which is better, forward or backwards, but you know, yeah, that's kind of not a winnable argument really. In either direction, and I don't, you know, it's just as long as it drives nice, I'm a happy man, you know. I'm not going to get into what's better and this is this because of that angle and dangle. It's really just, does it drive any good? Yes or no? Alright guys, well I'm going to get this down a little so I can get it to working height and get these new calipers on, and we can go and see how this 69 Rambler Wagon hot rod actually runs. Okay, back in a minute guys. Okay, calipers off, just quickly through the new hoses on. Now these rotors, there was, the calipers were a mess, they just leaking and had been for some time, and it was just, everything was black and gooey and horrible, and these have got a real glaze over them. So they're smooth, I don't believe they need tuning. But what I'm going to do is hit them with this, which is just a battery powered you know, angle grinder with a rust removal stripping wheel. So I'm just going to lightly go over these to blow off this surface rust, you know, glazing. So here we go. Now hopefully you can hear me over the grinder, but the thing is, keep it moving. We're not trying to move material. You see spark, you kind of got to take it a little easy. Sparks means you're removing metal, that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to remove a bunch of miles of ground up crud. Ground in crud. You can see the amount of dust flying off here. See that wipe down, see if it's starting to look like some, that's looking better. You're actually seeing metal there instead of that baked on mix of brake dust and brake fluid. So we're pretty close here. I'm going to keep going a little bit longer and we should be good. That is looking a lot better. Now let me kind of get you zoomed in a little there. You're actually seeing like the steel, the cast steel colour of the rotor beneath this baked on layer. So that's going to give the new pads a chance to bite in and make a home of their own on some steel rather than the old crud. Alright, I'm just going to do exactly the same on the back side of this rotor, and of course on the other side of the car as well, but you get an idea of what I've just done, so hope that helps. Alright, calipers on, 4-piston caliper. Apparently it's the same as some of the big body, like late 70s, very late 70s Mopars. Similar, or if not the same caliper. Now, one little tip with these is you preload the caliper with the pads, and there's springs behind the 4 pistons, and they want it to close in. So like you get the pads loaded in and you end up with about a 1/4 inch gap, and it won't go over the rotor. It's too thick. So all I did, this is a learn as you go thing, guys. What I did was got in, when the caliper's on the bench, pressed the pads apart, and I popped a 1/2 inch drill, which is just about the same thickness as the rotor. I popped a 1/2 inch drill, 2 of them, 1, 2, in between the pads, and poked it about halfway through to hold the pads apart. That allowed me to slide the caliper assembly on, and just as you pushed it down, it just pushed the drills out. So that's how you get them to load, because with the springs behind the pistons, you can't reach in there to hold the pads really. So that seemed the easiest way. Put something 1/2 inch, I used a drill, but something about a 1/2 inch thick in there, wedge the pads apart. Now the other thing you have to do with these, and I'll try and grab the camera in the light, and now if you see in here, try and get this right, you can see the rotor in there, and it needs to be lined up with the middle of the caliper. So what I do is just use that split in the caliper. You can see the join where the 2 halves go. You need to get that lined up, and my camera angles may not be the best here, guys, but you need to have that located in the middle of the rotor, that 1/2 inch thickness of the rotor. So as I say, camera angles look like they're telling a lie as I'm trying to look at the viewfinder here, but trust me, that join in the caliper is directly in the middle of the rotor. And I got there, what you have to do is, that just didn't happen by chance. Now this is the caliper for the other side. As that was bolted on, it was too far this way, it was too far out, and it was bearing the inner pad hard into the housing, and it was too big on this side. So what you do is you basically just get a couple of these little body shims, and that goes, you back the bolts off. I'm showing you on this one because you just can't get in there with the camera, but there's a caliper bracket goes on here. Back the 2 bolts out, slide your little shim in between the bracket on the spindle and obviously the caliper. You slide them in there, whatever thickness you need, and that can be a little bit of trial and error. I put a 1/16 of an inch shim in there, and that just centered it up nicely. So you just put 1, 2 shims in there between the spindle and the caliper, tighten your bolts up, and away you go. That's it. All we got to do now is connect some hydraulics, some brake lines, and rinse and repeat on the other side. So let me get that done, and maybe we can take this old girl for a test drive. Back in a second. Okay, driver's side. Now I'll try and get this. If I've got the light, you can see you got the gap in your pads here. Now what I was talking about, the 2 drills, I actually changed it up slightly, and I've put 2 1/2 inch bolts in here. They're just slipped in there, not screwed in, they're just slipped in to hold the pads apart, because the pistons are quite spring loaded and it was pushing them together. So those 2 bolts in there are just holding them apart, and then I can actually slide these on, and as you go in, it just pushes the bolts out. Easy peasy. Just got to shim it, bolt it up, good to go. So, another day, another job. Customers saying that he's had issues with the starter motor cables, in that he's had to replace them twice, I think he said now. Just burning up, getting too hot, causing issues. So I had a quick look at what he's got going on. Now when it was up on the rack, I noticed that it's had like one of these aftermarket high torque starter motors installed in it. Now that is this one, let me just grab it. This one is kind of the same thing, similar style, these high torque starter motors. They have a solenoid in them, alright? So you just need to run power to it, and then you run obviously your signal wire from the key, from your ignition key in the the cranking position, and your starter motor should engage and go. Now what's happened on this car, spin it around here for you, you got your battery over here, and tucked away over here, lots of shadows. Hey, what you gonna do? This is not Hollywood. You got like a Ford style starter solenoid there, and what's happening, what they've done is they've run power, main battery cable from the battery all the way back down the firewall, across the firewall, and over to this starter solenoid, and then it goes from there back across the engine and down to the starter motor. So you have a starter solenoid operating a starter solenoid. Now it's not the first time I've seen this. I've seen it probably half a dozen times, and that's the reason I'm talking to you about it, because it seems like something worth mentioning. If you're going to put an aftermarket starter on that has a built-in solenoid, you delete the factory one. Now a lot of the Fords have them. I'm guessing this old Rambler had one, and probably the starter motor was down on the passenger side rather than the driver's side that the Mopar engine is. So that's why it's kind of doubling back on itself, and you can see it's a little bit hard to catch with the camera, but as I get it apart I'll show you. The cable's been hot, and it just creates resistance, all that distance going through different extra solenoid switches. It's all just something else to go wrong, and any of you own a Ford, those starter solenoids can be a little problematic. They do fail fairly regularly, shall we say, if we're being polite about it. So yeah, if you're going to go to the expense of putting an aftermarket high torque starter motor in, get rid of that junky starter solenoid. So that's what I'm going to do. I am going to do that. I will try and capture this as I go, and pretty quick, straightforward stuff, but hey, alright, back in a second. Alright, made some progress, solenoid's off. Now, the two power cables. If anyone thought that this was okay, think again. I mean, we've got a total, you can't really see that, but that first cable is completely my wingspan, which is probably around close to 6 foot, and then we've got another 3 foot returning to the starter motor. And look at the state of it. This is actually two cables being joined together and taped up, had some race tape around it. Now, if you don't do this, like seriously, that is not the way to wire up your car, alright? Don't do this. That's that one heading for the trash. Now this one that was running from the battery to the solenoid, the end just pulled out of the battery terminal as I was taking it out. Now if anyone thinks it shouldn't have been getting that hot, I hope this focuses for you guys, but that's kind of pretty much melted through. You've got another piece there. Whoops. Hit the tripod, sorry guys. There's a piece there where you can see the copper through. That was just trying to be a fire. And then look at the end by the solenoid. How hot has that been? Alright. Now, was it because of the solenoid? Was it like that's really not the issue. The fact is, keep an eye on your electrics and keep them in good shape. this was not far from burning this old Rambler down. And none of us want that. Doesn't matter why, we just don't want it. So look after your electrics, keep an eye on them, and you know, like it didn't need 6-9 feet of cable to get from the battery to the starter motor. All right, now enough of a little rant. I've got a nice new battery cable, a 32-inch battery cable instead of 9 feet, and just got this in from Napa. And hey, look at this. Can you read that? Made in the USA. Very happy about that. Anyway, solenoid. We had the starter, the exciter wire, or the signal wire, which engages the solenoid. I've pulled that back across the loom here and just run that straight down to the solenoid. The solenoid that's actually on the starter motor, one we're supposed to be using. One wire went to the positive terminal, the supply terminal to the solenoid, and to the alternator. So I'm just taking a wire. We've deleted that and we're running a wire straight from the back of the alternator, direct, again only about 2.5 feet, direct from the alternator to the battery. So that's just going to be a lot better setup, and then should run like a charm. So okay. Now, let me just move the camera in a little closer here. Wow, did spin your head out. Nearly dropped the camera. As I was going to disconnect the ground, this just kind of fell out. And you can see that's had some heat too. Yep. And the ground cable at the other end, going onto the engine block, is not looking in a lot better shape. So I'm going to make up a new one of these, or at least put new ends on it, and put the car up in the air, get that starter motor connected, and we'll be pretty close. Okay, battery cable's all connected. We've got a new ground on here, nice fresh bolt, new battery, new positive power cable. Should be time to fire it up, if I've done it right. Alright, let's see. Tack's flickering. Yep, there you go. That's working. Single solenoid. What more could you ask for? Alright, all I got to do now is throw that air cleaner back on. Get this. We might wait till tomorrow. Well, Monday. It's Saturday now. Might wait till Monday for the test drive, and but I'll be back with you in just a second. Okay, let's see how this thing goes. Oop, no seatbelts. Oh, yeah, there is. Ooh, there is seatbelts. Oh, for fashion. I think we'll just ignore those. Alright. 318 Mopar powered 69 Valiant. Fairly burbly exhaust. Just got a couple of glass backs on it from what I saw. Not quite our normal glorious sunny Tennessee day, is it? A little bit rainy and stormy. Oop. It's in here somewhere. There it is. close to your thigh. That's a lot different from shifting the old F100. Actually drives pretty smooth, doesn't it?
It drives really nice.
Those brakes are grabbing good. Actually quite nice. It doesn't rattle. Pretty cool. You know, it's got a fairly raucous exhaust, but it is a bit of a hot rod. But road noise wise, it's pretty darn good. Now it's just doing 2,000 RPM, so it really does, it pulls quite well. Neat old car. It's quite small. I think they're only about 2,800 pounds, so it's not a heavy car by any means. It's just something different, you know. Yeah, those brakes are working well. So narrow and wet, I think you could definitely have a bit of fun in this car.
Man, it goes really good.
It's got some get up and go, doesn't it? What a fun little car. What a fun little car. But yeah, got obviously those electrics we got tucked away, and the brakes are working good now. That is, yeah. Those police calipers, those police spec calipers are really working well. A little bit of wheel spin there. You could really play in this thing because it feels quite nimble. You kind of forget that it's a wagon. It doesn't roll and pitch like a wagon typically does, like Marge does. Yeah, this is fun. All right, well that's another one. Calling it a win. That was a pothole. Yeah, that's a win. Brakes are awesome. Starting and cranking nicely. We've redone all that wiring. Yeah, back to the shop, give the owner a call and say come get it, it's ready to rock and roll for summer. Alright guys, well you take it easy and I will see you on the next video. Take care.